Welcome in latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And there he is, everybody's favorite cousin Shane, the big Tennessee homer who goes by Big Orange Vols on the Twitter machine. What's up, brother?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oklahoma's playing a big game here, Shane. So we're going to preview the week ahead. We got some coach clips, got some data, even got a old school highlight to throw at us. So I'm locked and loaded. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm pumped up. I wish we could be there. You know, that's the only bad thing is we won't be at this one, but there will be one. Maybe next year, Mike, we get down there.
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Uh-oh.
Good friend of the show, Anwar Richardson, Orange Bloods, does a hell of a job covering Texas. He invited us. He thought we were going to be down. Well, we told him we were going to be down there. He said, "Where are you going to be? What time are you getting here? Free party, or not a free party, but free food and free drink." And I said, "Oh hell! If I tell Shane, we will have to go down there."
Damn, I didn't know this. This is developing. Have it on the bottom. Yeah, put that on the ticker. So maybe I don't know. I got to ask the boss, but maybe we may be able to do this, Mike. Are we going to do this?
Well, I'll tell you what, Shane, if we had more people sign up for MyBookie, the online sports book, go on over to mybookie.ag today, put in that promo code, that SEC, it's THATSEC over at MyBookie. You do that, Shane, they will double your initial deposit with that promo code, that SEC, over at mybookie.ag, a minimum of $50. You can have $100 in your account, or all the way up to $1,000. So you could have $2,000 to wager on this Red River shootout. You know what?
That's right, man. That $1,000 down there, that gets you. How many corn dogs will that get you, Mike? How many wax beers will that get you?
You'd be the damn king of the Texas State Fair after all that. You know what?
Oh man, I've already seen it. I get tagged in all the photos and all the cool stuff they're going to have down there, and you know just how deep and heated this rivalry is. Again, it's one that I have not appreciated because I didn't follow until last year. So this is the more and more we see this game, Mike, I think the more and more we're going to understand exactly why these teams hate each other.
And because of Michael Riley, he wants to know, do you got your marathon shoes yet, Shane? Or can you remind people what's going on with that?
Well, but first off, thoughts and prayers for everybody in Florida right now. This damn hurricane. I've turned in quite the meteorologist ever since Cuz started doing our videos for us on Thursdays. But
yeah, shout out James Bryant.
I'm watching this damn thing come in and picking up steam, and they're telling them if you're going to stay, you put your name on your thing and your date of birth so we can identify you. I mean, this thing is, if you're listening to this damn podcast and you're near that coastline, turn this shit off. That's the only time I tell you to turn this podcast off. Turn it off and get the hell out of there. So, again, thoughts and prayer to everybody down there. This thing sounds pretty violent, but what else sounds violent, Mike, is a 13.1 mile walk, which I did it. I did it again, Mike. In fact, I wasn't even on this show. You and Steve-O was on there, and I got the chirping, and somebody clipped it, and I was like, man, I hope nobody saw that, but they did. So last year, just if you're first-time listeners, Tennessee and Florida were going against each other, and I said, hey, listen, I knew Tennessee's going to steamroll them. I said, there's no way they're going to lose to Florida Gators. They're going to go down there. In fact, if they lose to the Florida Gators, I'll walk a mile for every point they lose by. And they lost by 13 points. That's 13 miles. I did it in the hot sun, knocked out 13. My only regret, Mike, was not doing the .1 because I found out later that's what that sticker on the back of them cars mean. Somebody did a half marathon. So I said, you know what? I'm going to double down. If Tennessee loses to the Florida Gators, I'm going to lace up these new Brooks. I bought new shoes just in case because we played like shit last week. So I got new shoes. And I said, if it happens, I'm going to sign up for the closest marathon, and I'm going to do a half marathon, 13.1 miles. So I pray to God it doesn't happen, Mike, because I've not been doing what you call training. So it will probably be a marathon near the closest hospital or emergency facility. So, Mike, that's the bet. That's the bet that's going on this week. There'll be no other bets. I'm going to be praying that Tennessee wins this thing, not so much because I love the Vols, but just because I'd love to see another day.
Well, so you got your shoes. That's good. But Cousin Ken just said in the comments,
are we frozen, Mike? You are frozen. Am I frozen? I don't even know if this is
I don't think anything's frozen. I hear you.
I just thought I was telling a good story, and Mike, look at him, just sitting there cheesing the whole time. Yep. All right. So here's what's going to happen, guys. I don't know what to do. I don't know if Mike's on here. I don't even know if America's on here. Oh, we got him.
I've been here the whole time.
SEC Mike, are you there, brother? Look at this. He did pay his cable bill. Knew this day would happen.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Let us know in the comments because I don't know what's going on.
Just while Mike's trying to figure out his internet situation, I'm going to also let you know that was one of the discrepancies. A lot of people were saying, Shane, there's no way in hell you did 13 miles. Even though Mike did some of them with me, my wife did some of them with me. So that's why I'm doing a half marathon, because I'm not going to quite have a GoPro, but I will be at the event. So there'll be a start, there'll be a finish, 13.1 miles. It'll be over with. So I
How
guess
about now,
that's the
Shane?
show.
Can you hear
We're
me?
going to figure out what's going on with Mike. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. I wish I could. Let's see. You know, now that I've got your attention, maybe I could tell you a little bit about SEC Mike. What can I tell you that I won't get in trouble? I don't even know if you guys are on. Let me get over here in the comments. I may just be talking to my damn self again. You guys on there?
I think it's just Shane. Shane cannot hear me, cannot see me.
Let's see.
That's the problem. And there he goes. And there goes the show. There goes the show with him. He got to talk about exercise, and then all of a sudden, I think his eardrums broke or something like that. Because it's working on my end. I heard everything he was saying the entire time, and he was rambling. I just didn't want to cut him off. So I texted him, let him know it's on his end, so maybe he'll restart. But let me throw this up here, because this is something I didn't have any idea when I started doing this, how pissed off people would get by me doing this. But I do have my updated SEC Scoring Efficiencies. And again, people are hating this thing. They don't understand it. Ole Miss has played a cream puff schedule. I get it. But very simple metric here. How many snaps you run on offense, how many points you're scoring. How many snaps you faced on defense, how many points are you giving up based on the snaps you're facing. And I think people are also confused. If you're elite, you're at the very, very, very top right. If you're awful, you're at the bottom left. So based on these metrics, there's only two teams that fit in that category. Mississippi State's been awful. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And then Ole Miss is technically the only team elite. But again, everybody picks apart and says they haven't played anybody, which is absolutely true. But here's the thing, guys. When they say, I've heard every complaint there is. Let's just do Power 5. Let's just do SEC. But even if we do that, is Texas SEC schedule the same as Oklahoma's? No. Is Kentucky's SEC schedule the same as Auburn's? No. So there is no perfect way to do this. There is no college schedule that is identical to another. So I in my view, this is really starting to come to light now that we're getting more and more games. But these in the top elite quadrant, I mean, I think these are your SEC playoff teams right now. Now A&M's making a jump, but I think what this tells you is LSU may be a fraud down here in the bottom with their defense. They got to get a lot better on defense. I think Missouri checks out. They're damn near close to Mississippi State, which is pretty pathetic. But Shane, can you hear me? Can you see me now?
Yes, I can hear you, and I see scoring efficiency.
Right. Okay. So we got you back, buddy. I don't know what happened on your end. I was joking that you were talking about doing exercise and your eardrums blew out because there was nothing on my end. They could see me the whole time. I could hear everything you damn said there.
Oh, you did? Well,
yeah.
I don't want to repeat it because I don't want to walk 13 miles. Let's just put it that way.
No, I'm saying I heard it. We heard every word you said.
Oh, okay.
Even when you were saying, Hey, you froze. I wasn't froze. And then you ramble on about how I don't know what to do. So we heard
really
everything you said.
Man, I go to full panic mode. It's almost felt like I was doing power rankings again. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not good. I talk to myself all the time, but it doesn't get out there, And then now I'm like,
oh, today it did.
And I'm glad I didn't say anything bad, Mike. Oh gosh! Why you weren't drinking out of that cup? You got to do that this week.
I'm honoring this because they whooped Tennessee's ass. So
Jeez.
Until Tennessee wins a football game, I'm not changing. I'm drinking out of the Razorback cup.
And I'm drinking this because Tennessee got their ass whooped.
All right, how about this, Shane? So one other thing before we get to the previews.
Yeah.
I don't know if this matters or not, but I was just thinking about it last night. SEC teams coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Did you see I put this out?
No, I probably didn't.
You have any idea? I mean, just a wild guess. What do you think teams' record this season coming off a bye? All the SEC teams combined.
Man.
Do you think it's a winning record? Do you think it's a losing record? What do you think?
Well, the fact you're asking me almost makes me want to guess it's a losing record.
It is. So again, it's only 7 teams that have had a bye thus far and played.
How many lost?
3 wins, 4 losses. So again, Florida's won at home, Vandy at home, Bama at home. Of course, Bama was playing Georgia off a bye too, so maybe we even throw that one out. But they were both off a bye. And then Tennessee, South Carolina, Missouri all lost off a bye, and South Carolina is the only one that lost at home after a bye. So again, this is only seven teams here.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting because we all look at buys, and there's a lot of teams coming up that we're about to preview are coming off a bye, and one team is, one team isn't. I don't know that. I think the buy is kind of overrated.
Maybe. I mean, I get that. I mean, small sample size, I feel like, is where we're at right now because obviously if you decipher the teams that we're playing, you may say, well, the schedule was tough, But I do think the buys are important because I think coming off a bye, there were several players that may not have played because of injuries or something along those lines. I could argue that momentum, like you said, you could go the opposite side, similar to like a bye and a playoff. You ever see those teams, they get the first round bye and then all of a sudden they get smoked the second one, and it's because they took that week off. And so, yeah, I guess if you got a momentum thing, sometimes, let's say this, hot teams right now, Texas A&M is extremely hot. I don't think you'd want a bye week right now. I think you'd want to keep rolling. Arkansas, extremely hot. I don't think you want a bye week. I think you want to keep rolling. So these teams that maybe are just kind of stagnant or just winning because they're a better football team, those maybe they're the ones that need to worry coming off a bye week.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of coming off a bye week, Shane, that's right. We're going to start. Of course, game of the week here in the SEC, and in my opinion, the damn country. Come on now. Number 1, Texas. Number 18, Oklahoma. Texas favored by 2 touchdowns. And just judging by the footballs, judging by the green-purple, Shane, Texas is at a major statistical advantage in this matchup. But, oh, buddy, as literally every Sooner on the planet that's on Twitter has let me know this week. Throw the stats out, throw the records out. And, quite honestly, people were telling me that in Norman too. But it is tenfold this week as these teams gear up for their epic rivalry game here in Dallas. So thoughts on this one, Shane? And, oh, wait, before we get into it, sorry, apologies. Yeah. So Texas, obviously, number 1.
Yeah.
The last time this rivalry featured any team ranked number 1, it was Oklahoma back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
You know what happened then, Shane?
What happened?
Texas beat them. Texas, number 5, beat number 1 Oklahoma back in 2008. And then the last time that Texas was number 1 in this game came all the way back in 1984. You know what happened there, Shane?
What happened?
Little history lesson, because hell, we don't follow Texas and Oklahoma in 1984. The game ended in a 15-15 tie, but Oklahoma got screwed. They were winning by 3, and first time ever, Shane, we're going to cut to the tape here. So this is Texas down 3. Look what happened. Look what these damn refs did to the Sooners.
Oh, and they might be out of field goal range. He puts it in the corner of the end zone. And it is incomplete.
Let's see it again. Stanberry is going to catch the deflected ball. Both men go up and bat the ball forward. Stanberry, if he has possession, 1 foot in bounds, which he clearly does, has both feet in bounds as he catches the ball.
Clearly, Shade.
That's
Clearly,
touchdown. Give him 6.
Well, see, they were playing defense, so that would have been an interception. Texas, right thereafter, kicked a field goal to tie it. So Oklahoma got screwed. Texas tied it. Man, aren't you? Just be thankful we don't have ties anymore in college football.
I was 2 years old, Mike, and that's when I started hating refs right there. That's where trust issues seeped in, Mike, because of that football play right there.
But, again, I just thought the history lesson, that'd be cool as we're all learning Texas and Oklahoma lore as they're in our great conference now. But thoughts on this matchup here, Shane? Texas, number 1 Texas. Again, I'll throw up the stats here. Big statistical favorites. And obviously 2 touchdown favorites. So this, thoughts on this matchup here?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a handful of rivalries in this league that you can just throw out the players, like the attributes, the records, the whole 9 yards. It does not matter, Mike. It's Team A versus Team B, and it's a hated rivalry. These guys are just going to battle each other. It reminds me of the Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl, but apparently times 10. And unfortunately, guys, I'm just being honest here, the SEC will not appreciate this rivalry the first year. They may not appreciate it till year 5, year 10. It may take some time, but there will be a moment when we're watching this football game and we're going to say, holy shit, this is what it's all about. I get it. I understand it. Maybe I've got to go down there and eat the corn dogs and drink the wax beers to fully grasp it. But I feel like, Mike, this is not going to get the respect it deserves until we have the game that we expect to see with these 2 matchup.
Well, before I respond to you, Shane, you know who also deserves more respect? Cousin JR. How about him? JR, what a guy he is. Cousin JR, appreciate you. Mr. Bloodline just became the latest gifted membership to, we had to call, JR is like Robin Hood. He gives to the poor. Not to call anyone poor, but basically we are. So we appreciate you, Cousin JR.
Yeah, I keep logging on with Steve there. I'm like, hey, I'm here, my membership. Where's JR at?
But, this epic rivalry. But thoughts on how does the narrative change, though, Shane, if Oklahoma were to do the unthinkable to Texas fans? What if Oklahoma's winning? Hell, they were big underdogs last year, too. I don't know if you remember, Texas was, I guess they weren't number 1, but they were probably like number 2. They were undefeated. Everybody was writing off Oklahoma, and Oklahoma stunned the world, beat them. All of a sudden, we got to talk about Oklahoma and their changes on offense, getting healthy. Yeah. This is a team that could get red hot here, and I think if Oklahoma wins, we immediately they are no longer on the playoff bubble. They got to be in the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, you're talking 1 loss to a top 5 team. This, and honestly, they kind of were itching back into that thing. So you could argue that this is a football team that finally found a quarterback, that's finally got a little bit of life on the offensive side of the football. But more importantly, Mike, about this rivalry again, this is a football team outside of Norman. Nobody's expecting to win. You know what I'm saying? And if they're expecting Texas to steamroll you, again, it doesn't have the respect of the rivalry it should. But if this comes down to the final possession, or if this comes down to an Oklahoma pulling off an upset, then all of a sudden the fans will get a big dose of what everybody's been telling us how big this rivalry really is, Mike.
Right. Now, the other side, though, for Texas. Yeah. Any pressure on Sarkisian? He's 1-2 in this series. Now, the one win he got was by damn near 100 points. So we give him a break on that one. But, Texas wants to annihilate Oklahoma and send them down a spiral. We got maybe if you ask them, 2 best quarterbacks in the country. They're both wearing burnt orange over there. It don't even matter which quarterback they roll out. We're going to whoop your ass with our backup if we have to. But, a lot of the line here, is it at all similar to Ole Miss? First, I know this isn't Texas' first SEC game, but their first one was Mississippi State. That's a joke. Ole Miss played Kentucky, they lost. Tennessee, maybe the schedule caught up to them. Certainly Missouri, schedule caught up to them. Or do you buy that narrative that maybe it's Texas that could be getting caught up by the schedule? And hell, looking ahead to Georgia, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think you said Ole Miss, and one of the things that you see every time I see anything Texas related that comes out from another fan base, it's followed by 14 people said they ain't played nobody, and they all kind of tip their hat to Michigan, but looks out, Michigan's not that good, you played an SEC team, but you played Mississippi State, the worst team in the conference yet. So I don't think these guys truly been battle tested, and I feel like that's what the fans are seeing. So yeah, you kind of talked about Ole Miss. What did we talk about Ole Miss for 4 weeks? They've played nobody. They played cupcakes, and look at them. They play an opponent that has a little life to them, and they get upset. So yeah, I feel like there's something. You talk about pressure. I don't think there's any pressure on Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They win this game, awesome. If they keep this game close, awesome. But if they lose the game, everybody's going to say, well, we knew that was going to happen. Texas is expected to win, not just by a little, by a lot. Texas is expected to beat the shit out of Oklahoma, and I just don't think that happens.
How important do you think it is for Texas to get out to a fast start? Because I think you just said you don't think it happens, but I think it could snowball. Yeah. Like if Texas jumps out to an early lead, and then all of a sudden Oklahoma's playing catch up, that is the wrong position to be in. Now, I do think Oklahoma coming off a bye, but obviously both teams are coming off a bye. But with a new quarterback, I think we'll see some wrinkles that Oklahoma has not shown.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect for Texas to have to prepare for. But how important do you think it is for Texas to get off to a fast start? I think they can win this game ugly because they got a great defense. They can, but I think if they jump on Oklahoma, I think they could crush them.
If they could, yeah. I believe there's a handful of teams that are in this league that are built that way, Mike, that if they've got a couple of scores, it's almost impossible to catch up to. But I feel like, kind of the blueprint's out there. I just joked about how Mississippi State's not a good football team, but they kind of showed you how to beat them, Keep this thing close. Right. Keep that offense off the football field. Drag this. Vanderbilt, prime example against Alabama. So you hear a lot of coaches talk about this during the weeks. Hey, we want a slow tempo. We want to hold the ball, time of possession, that sort of thing. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you go 3 and out, and you give the ball up, and then you're down 2 scores. So it's going to come down to small moments in this football game, brother. And you're looking at beating Texas. I feel like you got to have a little keep away. You got to establish the run game. You got to. Your defense is legit. You got a top 5 defense. Go out there and have some 3 and outs. Make this game uncomfortable. So the recipe, like I said, is out there, but can it be implemented? That's going to come down to small moments.
Mm-hmm. Well, without a doubt, we know who has the better offense in this game. It's Texas. But who do you think's got the better defense? Because Texas defense they're great too. Oklahoma's a little bit more tested, I would say, but they're pretty phenomenal too.
It's tough to argue with experience, and I'm not talking about lifelong experience. I'm talking about 2024 season experience. And Oklahoma, I would give the edge to right now, just because of who they played, the moments they've played. They've played some really good football teams, and that defense is the shining star and why they won those football games, or at least kept it close. So that right now at this moment, I'm giving a very slight edge to Oklahoma just because of experience.
Who do you think's got a better coach in this game, though?
I think that's a good question, but I'm going to have to go with Texas. I think Sark's the better coach here, and again, he says the right things, Mike. I mean, you talk about the man at the podium. I buy into what he says, and he understands the situation. He understands how important this football game is, but I do think that this team's a little bit different than it was last year coming into this matchup.
Oh, yeah, certainly. But, again, I think, fair or not, I think the season narrative will be dictated by this one. Yeah. If Texas loses it, oh, buddy. Again, they got Georgia coming up.
Yeah.
They got at A&M, which all of a sudden looks really good, even though I've been saying it for 6 months. Again, some of these others, at Arkansas looks tougher now. At Vanderbilt looks tougher.
Yeah.
Kentucky, they pushed Georgia to the brink. So, I mean, it could be season defining, and certainly Oklahoma too. You win this one. Again, we already covered that. But again, if you get your ass kicked in your Oklahoma,
yeah,
it could, you could spiral out of control here too. So, I think this is going to be season defining. Shane, I think the winner of this one, is going to the playoff, and I think the loser, their fans are going to be mad. Going to be mad not only after the game, but by the end of the season.
Well, let me ask you, Oklahoma, they average about giving I'd say probably around 18, 19, 20 points, something like that. I mean, very low. If they keep this under 3 scores, do you favor Oklahoma in this matchup?
Under 3 scores.
If they keep Texas 21 or under, if I just tell you, I'm not telling you what Oklahoma score is. I'm just saying Texas 21 points. Who wins that football game?
I mean, I think Texas can win it ugly like that too.
Yeah.
Because if you told me they only scored 21, I said, well, hell, did they shut Oklahoma out? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that'll happen, but I think they could.
God, I just love how you just have turned on Oklahoma. You've been down there 5 times. You've had swirlies and everything, and you just hate to say Oklahoma's a good football team. No,
I just tell the truth as I see it, Shane. All right, how about this one, Shane? Speaking of, I can't wait for this game too. Season defining right here, buddy. Ole Miss, number 9, Ole Miss at number 13, LSU. LSU coming off a bye. But as I pointed out, I'm not sure that's relevant. Ole Miss favored by 2.5. Night game on ABC. And again, judging by the football, Shane, Ole Miss got themselves a hell of a team. LSU, they equal record here. I mean, they're the number 2 in the SEC right now. LSU has no conference losses, so we're not writing them off. All the bad mouthing I've done of LSU, I'm going to have to change my tune if I come around and whoop Ole Miss ass. So, because if they beat Ole Miss, Shane, I think they can beat everybody on their schedule. I mean, at A&M's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Toughest environment in all of college football, obviously. Alabama will be difficult. But, I mean, if they beat Ole Miss, I think 10-2 is at worst is going to be their record. Now, Ole Miss, though, buddy. Oh, I don't even have the updated Ole Miss here. Oh, yeah, here we go. Buddy, if Ole Miss wins, I think we're back. We're right back where we started from, Shane. And we'll just be scratching our heads saying, Kentucky, we blew that one.
Yeah.
But that was the turning point that led to this playoff run. Would you agree with those?
Yeah, I do think that this is kind of that swing game, because these are 2 teams. One that we had firmly into the playoffs, we kind of lost a little bit of that momentum when they fell to Kentucky. And the other one has always been that fringe team that still we find scenarios how they can win 10 games. We find out scenarios, of how they could be one of the 12 teams selected. But I feel like the road gets a lot tougher for the loser of this matchup. You know what I'm saying? Because these are 2 teams that arguably may not be playing the toughest team that day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I see Alabama's, I see Georgia's floating around out there. There are some good football teams on both of these schedules here. So if you're penciling pressure, I don't think there's as much pressure on the Red River, even though it's a huge rivalry, as there is in this one, because the expectations is that Kelly was going to take them to the playoffs. I mean, they came out and said it. The players came out and said it. The pressure's on Lane Kiffin. He dropped the Kentucky matchup, but they're still dubbing him as the best coach in the country and potentially taking the Florida job and all these special things they're going to do on the last ride, the last dance. But if you miss this one, then what? Then all of a sudden they're saying it was a one-hit wonder. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there is so much pressure on this football game, and it's at Death Valley. It's going to be a hell of a matchup too. So yeah.
Any idea, Shane, the last time that Ole Miss won at Death Valley? Do you have any idea what season that was?
1982, wasn't it? No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know.
2008. So not that long ago, but I think I was like, they're like 1 for 20, in their last 20 something at LSU. But here's the thing.
I had hair back then and no glasses, so lots changed since '08, Mike.
Here's the thing, though. I bring that up, Shane, just to ask you this, because I firmly believe this, that in years past, shit like that mattered.
Yeah.
But now, in the portal era, particularly with Ole Miss, I don't care if they're 0 for 50, because I would think the vast majority, and sure, there's a handful of key contributors on this Ole Miss team that were on the team that lost to LSU 2 years ago, but the vast majority of them have never even been down there.
Yeah.
So I think more than ever, historical statistics like that mean little to nothing. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, and some of them been down there with different teams, so it's like they've been to Death Valley. Yeah, nothing. I'm not taking away from the venue. It is one of the top, if not the greatest, home field advantage. But it's still, I mean, the SEC is loaded with top 5, top 10. We just talked about down there at College Station. There are some great stadiums, but these kids, they're just playing, man. At the end of the day, they know what's at stake. They know what they need to go in there and do. So I don't think Ole Miss is going to hide from that.
But let me ask you this, though.
But it'd be nice. I will say this. It would be nice for Death Valley to wake up. And I'm not saying that it hasn't been, but it's been a while since I've watched one of those football games down there and say, this place is freaking nuts. You know what I'm saying? Just come to live. They're going to have to, man. This is going to be one of those games that they are going to have to cause some false starts. They are going to have to just be. I mean, we talk about these headpieces with the defense and offense. I want them to turn those mics off because they can't even hear each other. They're just going back to the sideline looking at those guys in the colored shirts.
Right. But there was a really good clip, though. And this is not necessarily got everything to do with this matchup, but I think this is going to be across the SEC all season long, and I think we've already started to see it. Here's Lane Kiffin on this. We could sit here and talk for hours, Shane, on portal and NIL and this, that, and the other. But Kiffin sums it up really well. I'll get your thoughts on the other side.
LSU and those who played in that to have an extra chip on their shoulder this Saturday?
I don't know that. They got a new staff and over there, and Brian does a great job. I think he's all-time active winningest college coach, and you got to make hard changes, to be a successful head coach, and I'm sure that was challenging for him, but you got to do what's in the best interest of the team. But every year is independent. Every game's independent of every other game. So I don't know that there's much relative to last year, because I think, as you see in college football, you can't even say what's relative a week ago, how somebody plays and how they play against this team, and then the next week that's going to matter, and then it doesn't matter at all. So I think every week's always independent. Every season's independent, and I don't know why it feels even more than ever that you better get your team motivated and right each week, or you're gonna lose.
Now, I think based on what we've seen after 6 weeks, I think there's a lot of truth to that, Shane, where teams are going to be so inconsistent, show up one week, don't show up the other. Why? I don't know. NIL, I certainly think money has gotten to a lot of, and I'm not, we've always advocated for players to get paid and all that, but I think that's part of it too.
Well, and you're going to see more sitting. I mean, we're seeing some kids sit out now, and get a red shirt, looking to transfer, that sort of thing. So they're always looking out for their best interest. But one thing I will say, Mike, I think it's different than it was back, when we were young, many moons ago. Back in classic films we're playing, because I felt like those kids played with injuries. And I felt like there was no such thing as concussion protocols and day-to-day and probables and all this stuff. It was like, are you walking? Are you breathing? Get your ass out there kind of thing. But now they're looking for their best interest, because a lot of them, especially in this league, their best interest isn't just for the SEC. It's going to be to the next level. So they got to put their body first. So I'm not saying that the injuries is all of it, but you're seeing a lot of it similar to the NFL. I mean, that's kind of what it's mimicking. And back in the day, you could pick a running back and you say, hey, this kid's going to get 25 carries this game, and he's probably going to go over 100 yards. But now we got committees. We've got this guy starting to hit off. We've got this guy that catches fire. Fantasy football, man, you just can't predict who's going to hit this week. But you're just praying that it's somebody on your team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all good points. So, and I think all that makes it as unpredictable as ever. And I'm, quite frankly, I enjoy it, Shane.
Yeah.
Hell, we sit here and talk about this all day, every day for a year, and we don't know who the hell's going to win these games. That makes it fun as hell to me.
Mike, I after that Tennessee, old Shane would have still been in the gutters after that Arkansas game. I said, it's over, man. It's on to the next year, but there's that part of you that says, you know what, we still got a shot here. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the right way, but Tennessee could lose another one and still make the college football playoff, So there's a little bit of forgiveness in the air, but it's also created, I think, extreme competition. Mm-hmm. Arkansas's not folded up anymore. They're pumped up. They can't wait to win another football game. You've got Oklahoma sitting over. We didn't got to show the cup or anything, but you know what I'm saying? We got a lot of these teams that would, by this point, have already moved on to a different sport. But now they're like, hey, nah, we're still in this thing, son.
Exactly. Now, speaking, though, of this game in particular, Shane, the way I hear it, I don't know, hate might be too strong a word, but Lane Kiffin or Brian Kelly, not big fans of each other.
No.
Brian Kelly was asked about Lane Kiffin. You tell me. They asked him about him, and look right where he goes first.
Just wondering over the years, your impressions of Lane Kiffin as a communicator, both in the way he communicates to the public about his team and about opposing teams and high-profile figures in football.
I just think you have to look at how many followers he has on Twitter. I mean, I think that today he's got a blue check mark, doesn't he? Isn't that how you're regarded? Look, Lane has a positive outlook on the game, and he certainly has been a central figure in college football. He can poke fun at himself and others, and I think he's good for college football.
But get him out of my league. I think if he was being honest, he'd say something like that. You know what?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if anything bad happens, that's the kind of coach that's like, Lane finally got him one. I bet he was high-fiving somebody after that Kentucky game.
But hey, we're gonna find out, because this is, they've made no bones about it. Last year was the year. That's why we went out and got it, blew up our defensive staff. Even though I don't think that's honestly the truth. I mean, they did get exposed there, but
oh, what a game! Yeah,
he was planning to keep Matt House. I remember that video came out after the bowl win, and the players just gave him the cold shoulder. Yeah, that was the final straw for old Matt House, not the Ole Miss game. But we'll see if it works. I mean, if Ole Miss does something similar, I mean, Ole Miss has not been scoring to that high degree in conference play. Not against Kentucky, they lost. Even South Carolina, they dominated South Carolina, only scored 27. Probably should have scored a little bit more. There was, the Juice Wells fumble out the end zone and everything. But, man, if they put up 35, 40 points on LSU, that's going to be a pretty bad indictment of this defense at LSU that has not shown a lot of progression so far.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I keep thinking to myself, are we going to have another shootout type game, or are these defenses going to be more of a factor? Because I could argue that Ole Miss defense has been tremendous. Yeah. And this defense, if they would have had this defense last year, they would have smoked LSU. So, but then again, you got LSU that felt like they started to come a little bit of alive here. Now, again, that was an inferior opponent, and then they've also got the bye week. But there's a part of me that felt like there was some, I don't know, more pressure, more chaos in the backfield, more forced turnovers type situation. So I'm just really intrigued with this football game, Mike, because you talk about all of them. I don't have a pulse on this one. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring. I don't know if it's going to be low scoring. I know that it's going to probably be close, and it's probably going to come down to the last drive.
If LSU loses, big if.
Yeah.
If they lose, do you think they'll make the playoff?
No. This is a must win for them. This is an absolute must win. I just after seeing what I've saw with that tremendous Arkansas football team, that this A&M, the way they're playing, Alabama. I mean, where are you gonna? You're telling me you lose to Ole Miss, but you can beat all these other teams? I'm just not seeing it right now, especially that one being at home.
Is it more of a must win for LSU? Because again, not that Ole Miss can afford 3 losses, but they'll be underdogs against Georgia. But I keep saying it, Shane.
Yeah.
Georgia, borderline elite, but they're not Georgia the last couple years. They're just not.
Yeah.
At least they haven't been. So I think let's say Ole Miss loses to LSU, but then wins 5 in a row. I think they're in. Would you agree with that or no?
If LSU loses this weekend and wins 5 in a row, they're in.
If Ole Miss loses to LSU and then beats Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State.
Yeah. This is it, Mike. This is each team has. It's like Uno. You've been holding on to this draw 4 forever, and you've got one left, and you don't want to use it for the LSU game or the Ole Miss game or whoever you're talking about. But that's it. That's your last one. So whenever you place that, there's no more forgiveness. You've got to win out. I mean, even if you look at Ole Miss's schedule, can you pull that one back up again? Let's just say hypothetically they lose this game. They have to win out.
Right.
It's not close. They can't barely lose to Georgia. Any of that situation, they've got to go out. Now, if you pull up LSU's schedule, and let's say they lose to Ole Miss, now you can't get this team in on a 9-3, especially if your losses are against the only ranked opponents you played. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I feel like this is a football team, both of them. This is it. One of them, you got that draw 4, Mike. Are you using it this week, or are you going to hold on to it for an Alabama game or an A&M game?
Right. And again, if let's say LSU loses, which is not a given, but they turn around and they beat Arkansas, which is getting hot.
Yeah.
Texas A&M could be top 10 in the country by that point. You beat them. Alabama will, if they beat Tennessee, will still be in the top 10. I mean, so they'll have a resume to get back in there, but to your point, they will have 0 margin for error, which just makes it difficult to foresee. What would bet 6 straight conference games and winning them all?
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. So that's why there's more pressure on this football game.
Mm-hmm. Well, Shane, there's no pressure on my smells here. You know why, Shane? I was trying to figure out how to weave it back because of Mando. Partnered up with Mando this week, Shane, on the show. Mando, total body control. I love this stuff, Shane. Deodorant. I use, it was pretty neat, Shane. Body wash. It's called Bourbon Leather.
Yeah.
And aside from actual bourbon, I smell as good as you can get with the Bourbon Leather that I lathered up with this afternoon, Shane. And for a starter pack, anybody that uses the promo code SEC over at shopmando.com, that's SHOPMANDO.com. Use that promo code SEC, get $5 off. That's 40% off the total package of a starter pack over at Mando, shopmando.com. Can't beat it, Shane. You just can't beat it.
No, try it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just try. It doesn't hurt to try it. And I use like some of that fancy. I'm not a fancy soap guy. Never have been. But I was like, hey, it's here. When in Rome, So I tried it out, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was going home the other day. My wife, she said, "Are you wearing cologne?" Nah, just some good soap, honey. So try it out, man. What do you got to lose?
Exactly. Well, speaking of what do you got to lose, Shane? There's a lot to lose this weekend. Come on, brother. Florida comes to Rocky Top. Number 8, Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 15.5 points, a night game on ESPN. I can't remember, Shane, in my lifetime, Tennessee being a 15-point favorite over Florida. Can you?
No, I cannot. But it don't matter. It could be one. It could be a push. That's exactly the way I'm looking at this one, Mike. I am so worried about this football game. I wasn't 3 weeks ago. I mean, I kind of was, but I wasn't, you know. And then all of a sudden, Tennessee started doing their thing and Florida started doing theirs. And one thing I'm seeing, Mike, is again, I talk about this trajectory pass. I see two football teams on a different path right now. Tennessee stagnant, maybe even falling behind. And Florida is just stacking wins. Now, again, it's against UCF and Mississippi State, so we're not having the parade just yet. But I will say I'm seeing a football team that is doing things that it wasn't doing the first 2 weeks. I'm seeing a football team that is having fun, man, and say what you want. That adds a lot to a locker room that already knows everybody's against them. You know what I'm saying? So you talk about some momentum. Florida's got a lot of momentum coming into this one.
Do they though? I mean, I get it. Central Florida looked awful to me.
The locker room. I'm just talking about the locker. I would say this.
You.
The defense lit. I mean, it was fun actually watching them in the backfield. I've not seen that much pressure from that defense and ever. I mean, and Billy Napier, that was probably one of the best defensive fronts I've seen. Now, late in the game, they did some dumb stuff. They kind of let UCF get in a little bit back in that thing. But that first 3 quarters, yeah, Florida owned their asses.
Mm-hmm. I just see it kind of like Kiffin just said there. I mean, it's a week-to-week deal. Mm-hmm. And again, going back and watching Tennessee, they deserve to lose to Arkansas. But I don't think it was this calamity that I'm seeing a lot of people like Josh. I mean, my God, I don't know if you saw it. We're getting asked, is Heupel Butch Jones 2.0? Like what are we doing here, folks? I mean, they lost on the road by a single possession. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like to a team that we have said all season, this Arkansas is the most underrated team in the conference. Now, that doesn't excuse it or anything like that, but it's a completely different story. Playing at home, playing at night. Again, look at these Florida numbers. I mean, they're god-awful on defense. I mean, it's just so bad. Now, if Tennessee struggles here, then maybe Heupel is Butch 2.0 or whatever crazy thing you want to say, because, I mean, Florida, short of Central Florida, can't stop anybody. They couldn't even stop Mississippi State. Mississippi State was going up and down the field on them. Mississippi State's awful. So, again, I'm not trying to like give away my pick here, but I'm just saying, I don't know. This to me looks like one of the worst teams in the SEC, and a team that's maybe not elite, but still has a lot of good pieces that should be able to take advantage of a team like this at home at night.
Yeah, well, if Low T Heupel shows up, Mike, and gets a 10-point lead and just says, hey, we'll just pray to God the defense doesn't give this thing away, that's what you can't have. I want to see an aggressive Tennessee football team. We know you got the pieces. We know it's there, Mike. We know that it's there, and for some reason, we've not seen it in the last 2 games that they've had. So there's flashes of it. There's moments of it, but it's almost like there's a little reserve for some reason in this football team, and I'm tired of it. Fans are tired of it. They know that Nico's the guy, but they do have. I see it in my feed all the time, Mike. They just like, is it Nico? Is he part of the reason that we're not aggressive in the offense? Is it Heupel? Is it banged up receivers? Is it this offensive line not being able to give? I mean, there's a Lance Hurd video floating around that looked like I could have sacked the damn quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. There was some negative stuff floating out there, but this is a football team that I have seen rally behind Heupel before. He did it when he went to the Oklahoma game. This is a team that maybe went over there just expecting to just win the game, just expected to maybe get off the field in the third quarter type situation. They found themselves in a dogfight and they lost it. But there's a lot of Razorback fans out there that, they saw moments of how good Tennessee could be. And I don't know. I don't want to rehash that football game. I'm just saying, Mike, this is a football team that needs to take that step forward, and it's all on the coach right now.
Yeah, and again, I would go back and rewatch these games. That's what I do all week. I have nothing to do with my time other than watch and rewatch and this, that, and the other.
Try new soaps and stuff.
Yeah. But I'm trying to count here, Shane. I mean, Tennessee had something like 9 possessions in this football game. right?
Yep.
And about half of them, they either got a massive penalty
Yeah.
or a false start to start it.
Yep.
And those drives, they got nothing accomplished. And when they didn't do that, they scored. So it's basically 2 drives. You know what I mean? And the final one where they worked all the way down there and ran out of bounds. Genius move as time expired. But the point being that, it's not an excuse or anything, but it's just they shot themselves in the foot. They put themselves in a hole.
Yeah.
And they couldn't climb out of it. And Tennessee is so dependent. I was on an Arkansas radio station last week, our buddy Ty Richardson. They asked me, how important is third downs? I said, third downs are overrated with Tennessee. It's about first down. What do they do on first down? Because if they can pick up at least 5 yards, they're getting a first down and they're going tempo. If they don't, they can't. And that's exactly how it played out. When you get an offensive lineman walk downfield for some damn reason, you have a 30-yard pass that's negated. You ended up punting. When you have false starts, you end up punting. So a really good offense can overcome that stuff. Yeah. But right now, Tennessee, for whatever reason, cannot overcome any of that. So I just don't know that they'll have those problems in Neyland Stadium at night. And if they do, then they got real problems. I think that was more of a product of walking into a damn buzzsaw. Remember, Arkansas never gets night games.
Yeah.
I don't know, the SEC, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they always usually give them an early game. But thanks to this ABC schedule now, more night games to go around. You know what?
Yeah. I love it. I wish they would do more early ones, but this week I felt like they did a better job getting the hours together, getting the times together. But I'm sorry, I got to thinking, man. There was one time I was playing football, and I told you Lance Heard. For some reason, I had flashback. That's what I do. Sometimes I drift when you talk. So there was a wide receiver reverse, and I was playing nose guard. I come through, and I see the play developing. I'm like, this guy's going to get the football. And I'm the only one back there. I can get this. If I were an athlete, I would have had it. That guy just went right around me. I mean, dust in the wind. Didn't matter. I mean, I was out there by myself, and all I could think about was film study. And, man, they lit me a new one next week when we had our film study. So, sorry. Just day drifted a little bit, but, yeah, sorry.
No worries, brother. But one other thing. I listened to Hypo. He said nothing. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to get into all the issues. He's downplaying it all. I mean, that's his right, I guess. But how about Billy Napier, Shane? Because this reminded me 2 years ago, they come into Tennessee.
Yeah.
And this is a damn conservative man here. He likes to run the ball. Someone told me one time Billy Napier it don't matter if he's playing Alabama or Alabama A&M. He likes to win by a touchdown. Yeah. It's like he just wants it low scoring, all this yada, yada, yada. But he went a complete 180 playing Tennessee, quite honestly, the last 2 years. But a different story at Neyland Stadium. They went super, super aggressive, and he's asked about that. I thought this was an interesting answer.
Could this be the kind of a track meet kind of game where you guys really are going to have to be scoring a good amount?
Well, I mean, I do think some of what you're saying I would agree with relative to home and away. In particular, the challenge of playing on the road in this league. And that's been the case for a lot of teams in our league, not just Tennessee. I think we would probably say the same. But in general, I hope it's not a track meet, But I do think that.
We're averaging 70 a game right now, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I do think, like, ultimately, when you play Tennessee, there's going to be an element of strategy in regards to keeping up, and how do you do that? I think last year we were able to play complementary football in the game, and I think there's a component to that. But now, look, points are a premium, right? You do what you got to do to score. So, again, I go back to what I said in the opening statement. This is not just an offensive football team. I think they're pretty good on defense, in my opinion. Personnel, and I think in the kicking game, their history there, they've had some success. So they're ranked, and they've been highly regarded in the preseason for a lot of reasons. And I think ultimately.
All right, so Shane, again, Florida as a team, they can score. Yeah. Now, can they score on Tennessee? I think Tennessee's defense is really good, obviously, but If this is a high-scoring game, does that give you a concern that Florida can pull it out here?
Yeah, because Tennessee apparently is not a high-scoring offense anymore, So I don't want this to get into a shootout, but if it does, you used to think, well, that's exactly what Heupel wants. But now, again, I'm just judging it off the last few games I've watched. I'm not convinced that a shootout's exactly what Low T needs right now. He needs to keep this, time of possession, keep the first downs, like you said. Don't make the dumb penalties. Don't do the dumb things. Just keep the chains moving. So you do that, yeah. But again, there's a part of me that thinks, Billy has switched up his identity every time he's played Tennessee. And part of the reason that I'm expecting that again is because it worked for Arkansas, especially on defense. They did something we weren't expecting, and it threw everything out of whack, it felt like. So I'm expecting Billy to kind of do the same thing. So maybe some of the games you've watched the last 2 weeks, don't expect the same Florida Gators when they come up to Knoxville.
And last thing I got on this one, Shane, I think a case could be made, and he may be number one. There's no coach that needs a win more this weekend than Josh Heupel, because again, they ain't gonna fire him right after or anything, but
yeah,
he's gonna start to lose some fans if you can't beat this Florida team in Neyland Stadium at night. Do you think it's fair to say he may be the coach under the most pressure in the SEC this weekend?
Most pressure.
And again, I'm not saying getting fired, but I'm just saying fan base is going to start to question whether this is the right guy or not.
I wouldn't say most pressure. I would say he's up there. I would say he's top 5. I think Lane Kiffin's under a lot of pressure. I feel like Billy Napier's under a lot of pressure. I mean, he has no wiggle room.
He's no pressure.
Yeah,
he's done. I mean, they're done with him. You know what I mean? It's house money. It's house money for Napier. If he wins, they'll be shocked. They'll be happy to have him. If he loses, they're going to say, well, we already knew this guy's a loser. He's out the door.
Yeah, but if he just keeps winning, then they're bringing him back.
I don't even think they will. I think if he wins this one and loses, again, I'll throw up Florida's schedule. If Florida beats Tennessee and then loses to Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, his ass is fired.
Well, if you're beating Tennessee, then you beat Tennessee, you beat Kentucky. Okay, yeah, maybe, I don't know. maybe you're on to something there, but maybe he's not. Maybe he has no pressure. You may be right there, but yeah. I do feel like Heupel's got a lot of pressure himself, because you're right. We've kind of
you're trying to downplay the pressure. We're not putting pressure on you, Shane. I'm saying Heupel.
Mike, I'm gonna walk. That's where I'm gonna do my 13 miles, walking to his house with a testosterone shot.
Well, the only reason I asked that, Shane, because I think he might be number one, but if he's not, I think number one is, I'm trying to find my little graphic here, is this man right here, Caleb DeBoer. Come on, man, after losing to Vanderbilt. Anybody that missed it, their defensive lineman, Jaheim Otis, he says, right, I'm hitting the portal, I'm redshirting, all this, that, and the other. I mean, guys are ducking out. Getting blasted on Feinbaum and social media and all that. And by all accounts, South Carolina at Alabama. Alabama's a huge favorite, 21-point favorite, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on ABC. The things that Vanderbilt did to them, I don't think South Carolina is equipped to do it to them. And South Carolina should be running into an angry, pissed off team that they need to get some frustration out. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But I don't think there's any excuses. And I don't know if you've seen this, Shane. I know you've been busy this week. But there is some fans, and hell, even like media, I don't know if they're legit people. I think they're people like us. But they're calling him out for the clothes he's wearing, the shirt he's wearing, all this. That's a big thing in Alabama right now. It's like, why is he wearing a T-shirt during the games? Here's Caleb DeBoer. You tell me, Shane, if any coach is getting asked these types of questions, these Alabama people are crazy, and he's getting a taste of it for the first time ever. You let me know if any SEC coach is getting asked this question at any point in their career.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Just what do you say to fans who maybe wanted to see some more frustration from you after a loss like that?
That wanted to see what?
More frustration from you after a loss like the one on Saturday.
Oh, I'm extremely frustrated. We all are, but we're not going to lose our cool over that. We understand, what happened, and a lot of what I see in the response, even in the locker room. I guess, are you talking like press conference afterwards or something? 'Cause that's really the only time you could have seen me, I guess. I think that's me seeing what already is happening in 30 minutes, 20 minutes after the game's over. And I saw extreme frustration. I saw guys wanting to stick together, wanting to still do something special, believing in each other, expressing that. I had my part in there too, where, we understood, what happened, and that it's not up to our standard and how we had to proceed forward. And so, yeah, we are all extremely frustrated. But we aren't going to sit and lose our cool because, I don't think that's the right.
So does he need to show more frustration? Shane, they're eating this man alive, and if he loses to South Carolina, God,
Yeah.
it's going to get even worse. And again, they shouldn't. They're 3 touchdown favorites at home, but
Well, the problem is the media sees his players losing cool. He's seeing mouthpieces thrown and footballs kicked. You're seeing your linemen just quit, just freaking quit in the season. This ain't for me. This ain't the Alabama. Could you imagine quitting at Alabama? What is this about? We're in the upside down, Mike. So I understand. I get the frustration side that fans have because you got a coach that's not emotional, which whatever. If you want an emotional coach, get an emotional coach. If you don't, you want one that wins, which he has. He's 4-1. So, it's not like he's – I get it. He lost to Vanderbilt. He should be more upset about that. He should be more pissed about it. But it's kind of funny to me because you are correct. There's not a lot of coaches getting asked about the frustration side of it. But he is under a microscope, Mike. He is under so much pressure when he took that job. They're just waiting for him to either succeed or crack. And you knew odds were at some point that this season was going to crack a little.
hey, Cousin John says you need to rename your cat Diego Pavia. But
I told my wife that we're getting rid of that cat. Tennessee losing their game. So,
but yeah, I think he's on a massive amount of pressure to get this corrected. And hell, I'm surprised he hadn't been asked, have you called in Nick Saban to fix the defense? That's coming.
Yeah.
If South Carolina has their way with them, shit like that this is gonna keep getting worse and worse for him. It really is.
Well, it's one of those programs when things are good. Nobody was. They were talking about him, but weren't talking about him. But it's they can't wait to jump on the wagon. Media cannot wait to jump on the wagon when stuff goes bad. And Vanderbilt was bad. Losing to Vanderbilt. Hats off. You and I have told you that Vanderbilt is a pretty damn good football team, but none of the fans want to hear that right now. They just see one of the largest upset, if not the largest upset in history. And so they're going to start doing this, and they're going to do more of it. If you remember when Billy dropped Miami, they were asking shit like this. They were asking because they're looking for something to get on him. So, yeah, don't expect more. You'd lose again, especially this week. Yeah, you're going to get plenty of questions.
And then one final note on this matchup, Shane. So we highlighted an Alabama player that let's call it what it is, quit. Redshirt, hitting the portal, all that. South Carolina had a guy that did that this week, Shane. Linebacker Bengali Kamara. And now this is just one side of it. But I if this is the truth, I think this is a credit. Shout out Shane Beamer. He's asked about it. Here's his side of the story. I think this is the only way to handle this.
What are some of the details that you can share about Bengali and his decision to redshirt?
He came in my office yesterday and told me that he was redshirting. I told him that that's not quite how this works, that we can have a discussion about his role and his redshirting best. And we went back and forth a little bit. I think his situation's a little bit different than somebody. There's guys on our team right now, Hale, that we've had conversations with that, look, we're doing what we have to do in 2024 to win football games. But if we can save your redshirt year and not play you in 5 games, we will. Freshmen that have played some, older guys that have started, that have played some this year, that we've had those conversations with, that maybe don't have the role on offense, defense that they want. But, he was a guy that played season high in snaps on Saturday at linebacker, that was going to continue to play more for us moving forward. My job is to do what's best for the team, and what was best for the team in my mind is Golly continuing to play and help us go beat Alabama, or try to beat Alabama this weekend. And he didn't quite feel the same way. So in the end, I made the decision for him that it's probably best to move on.
So, yeah, we just can't have guys walking into the coach's office and say, you know what, coach, I'm a red shirt and sit out the year. You know what I mean? Especially when the coach feels like they need you to win these games. You know what?
Yeah, try that tomorrow at work. Just go in there and say, "Hey, boss, I feel like I'm going to take the rest of the day off. I'm not coming back after lunch." He's going to say, "Don't come back at all."
Right. So I mean, again, that's just one side of the story. I hope that's accurately portrayed, but I think that's the only way to handle it.
Beamer doesn't lie. Beamer tells the truth. So I believe I believe this was a watered down version of what happened, right. But absolutely, I think that this is a kid made a demand, didn't work, and that's one thing you got to realize. When you're getting paid, this is a job, and some of these kids have never had jobs, and it's a tough pill to swallow. But again, more importantly, this is an example being set. That. Yes, you're going to have a lot of luxuries here in Columbia. You're going to have this and that, but comes a point when the tail's wagging the dog, and I don't think that's going to happen under Shane Beamer's regime.
Right, and I think that you handle it so that this doesn't happen. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, how about this one, Shane? Mississippi State at Georgia. Georgia, 32-point favorite. I think this is the largest margin of a point spread involving two SEC teams so far this season. But I guess Mississippi State, the path is kind of like what you did against Texas.
Yeah.
Run the ball, low possessions, kind of force Georgia in a couple turnovers. But, man, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to see how this could be a competitive ball game.
Well, it won't be, Mike. I was just thinking, would this be the biggest upset? I get Vanderbilt, Alabama was huge, but going to Athens and pulling off an upset, that would be the biggest, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Short of Texas,
I think so.
maybe going to Austin and getting one. Which that's the only thing I can see. It's just you have Mike. This is a football team, Mississippi State, that I will say this. I did see a lot of fight in them, and that's one thing I didn't want to see. I understand they got the cards stacked against them, and it's going to be a long year, but I didn't see a lot of quit in that football team. I saw a football team that was, hey, we're putting film out there, we're auditioning for next year, or it felt like this is a football team that has nothing to lose, and I'm not saying they're dangerous, but if anything taught us last week, you can never take your foot off the gas. And Georgia, I felt like kind of took the step forward last week. They kind of got back on track, and it can all come unraveled a little bit. Not so much losing this game, but keeping it close, having a competitive game in the fourth quarter. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of boo birds coming out if that happens. I mean, Coach wanted the fans there. By God, they'll be there if they're losing this thing or if it's a top ball game in the fourth quarter.
Right, and that's a great point, Shane, because that's probably the biggest challenge for Kirby and Georgia this week is just to not overlook this opponent.
Yeah.
And hell, I mean, I'm sure most people have seen the news. What star receiver led the team in receiving last week, got arrested. Don't know his status, but, innocent till proven guilty. But, I mean, distractions seem to be a theme there in Athens. So,
yeah.
Again, going up against an opponent like this, they have to hear, we were 30-something point favorites. You know what I mean? If they take that attitude, that's how you get Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. That's how you get Georgia somehow falling to Mississippi. They basically have to beat themselves, I feel like.
Yeah. And again, fans want a 30-point victory, 40-point victory. So a 10-point victory, they're still going to be pissed off. So, yeah, there's I'm not saying a lot of pressure on Kirby, but I think there's more pressure on individuals in this football game. We talk about Carson Beck. This is a guy that had some up and downs. This is an opportunity to kind of grab those reins and show us that he's taken a step forward. So I think I want to see more of the individuals kind of stepping up in this football game.
Mm-hmm. And I think the only thing that's really worth keeping your eye on after Kirby called out the fans,
yeah,
I think he had an eye towards this game. He wants them to show up, be in full force, so that So I'll be curious to see how many Georgia fans not only show up. I mean, it'll be. I'm sure it's probably a sellout, but to see how long they stay and how loud they make it. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, why not? This is an SEC matchup, and I mean, again, Vanderbilt. Arkansas, 2 unranked football teams taking down top 5 teams, so it can happen.
How about this one, Shade? All of a sudden, this looks like a great game. Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Can Diego Pavia magic? Can they keep it rolling? Kentucky's had 2 weeks to prepare again. I don't know how big of an advantage that is these days, but this is the night game on SEC Network. Kentucky favored by 2 touchdowns, and he's surprised by that because again, as well as Kentucky's been playing, especially on the defensive side of the football, they don't score a lot.
Yeah.
So to cover 2 touchdowns against Diego Pavia and company, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this one.
I mean, this upset alert, man. I mean, how can you look at what Vanderbilt has done? They like I said, they took Mizzou to overtime. They beat Alabama. And it's like how many games they got to win before people start taking notice and I don't know. This is an intriguing one to me. 14 points is a lot of points. Kentucky's surely not going to be overlooking Vanderbilt, but I do think Kentucky has a better defense than Alabama, and I think that that may be a factor here. So this is going to be a good game.
Listen to what you just said, though, and I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah,
but we're like what 5 games, 6 games post Nick Saban.
Yeah,
and Kentucky's got a better defense than Alabama. Like. You just said we're in the upside down. There's no better statement than that.
Maybe not individual players, but right now
as a unit,
as
100%.
a unit and the coaching staff, absolutely. I would definitely give the nod to Kentucky here. So that's the intriguing part. If anybody's going to be able to shut down Pavia, well, good luck. But I think Kentucky's definitely going to be giving them a fit.
Right. And any new wrinkles you think we'll see from Kentucky with 2 weeks to prepare on? Maybe this is because again, Vanderbilt. For all the credit, they deserve all of it.
Yeah,
their defense is pretty bad, and Kentucky's offense has been fairly poor in itself. But again, 2 weeks to prepare, starting to gain some confidence.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Kentucky come out here and really have their highest scoring performance of the season. I don't think that it. Well, I mean. They're not going to score 41 like they did at Ohio, but I guess I'm talking more. I mean, they've scored 6 against Carolina, 12 against Georgia, 20 against Ole Miss. I think they got to do better than that.
Yeah.
Than they have all SEC season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. And you talked about wrinkles. I feel like we may see a little bit more of the 2 quarterback situation, Mike. I don't know. Sometimes it's provided the spark that Kentucky's needed. So I don't know. They've been getting a little bit more dicey in that quarterback room, or not just in the offense in general, getting your playmakers involved. Who's your best 11? Let's get them the football. So I'm starting to see little wrinkles of that. Don't be surprised if you don't see Brown in the backfield type situations. There's going to be a lot of shiftiness, but this is this is going to be a hell of a football game, Mike. This may be the best football game this weekend. It may come down to the damn wire, but a lot of people going to be watching Vandy in this one.
Yeah, and then last one, Shane, only non-conference game on the slate this week. We got Missouri at UMass for some damn reason.
What?
This is the first UMass SEC game, Shane. We got 3 more at Mississippi State and at Georgia upcoming. So UMass 0-0 in SEC play so far.
Yeah.
It's the only one they're hosting though somehow. But Missouri is still 21, ranked number 21, 27.5 point favorites. But man, we got to man up. We got to show something. This is going to be, laugh or not. I mean, UMass is 1-4. They're a joke. It may be difficult for Drake to get this team locked. I mean, it better not be. But hell, it may be difficult to get them locked in for an opponent of this caliber. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many storylines coming into this one. I know it's just UMass, but the fans need a bloodbath here. Man, they need to see no mistakes. They need to see this game out of hand by halftime, because this is a football team you can do that with, and I hate that it is at UMass. It is what it is. But, brother, this is a football team that got exploited last week, embarrassed last week. They were just the butt of all the jokes until Bama and Tennessee lost. But they had a good 3-4 hour run there. And I feel like to kind of – I don't want to say tamper expectations, but to get the fan base back in, they've just got to come out here and do what we expect them to do against UMass.
Cousin Rest says, I'd love to watch the emergency podcast after Mizzou loses. I mean, how bad could things get if they were to lose this game?
How bad? Oh my gosh! I don't even want to
entertain
imagine
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they would do. Absolutely. I mean, they're already beside themselves because of football game. I have a lot of Mizzou in my feed, and I see them on it daily. Pointing the finger at this and pointing the finger at that, and it's just like that's what they're all doing. And again, that's what fans do. That's what I do. But this football team doesn't need to be doing that. There just needs to be no finger. They need to come together and just kind of get back on the same page, and that starts from the top down, man. Truly, this is a big game. You talk about pressure. Drink doesn't have. It's not that I'm afraid he'll lose this game, but he can't win it by 10, or the fans are going to revolt.
And usually, Shane, there's an army of Mizzou people in the comments. I've seen about one or two this week.
They're pissed. They are. It's too soon for that SEC podcast. I've been there. But
again, I kind of joke. I mean, they're going to blow the doors off UMass.
Yeah.
And again, that's not going to impress anybody, but should they do it and they beat Auburn, which is not a given, Auburn's playing better and better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now, all of a sudden, Alabama doesn't look as invincible to me. So, again, the season ain't over.
No.
It may feel like it's over, but you get this one, you just steer that ship in the right direction. You still got a lot to play for here. And hell, the playoff is not gone. Looks unlikely after that performance, but all it's going to take is you to pull an upset, and you're right there in the mix.
Well, my thing too, and I know the two Mizzou fans that are in here are probably going to laugh at this, but for this team to go 10-2 and make a playoff, they cannot barely get by teams like this. They have got to, they've just got to embarrass them. You know what I'm saying? And because if you just sneak by this team or sneak by Auburn, maybe lose to Bama, and then you do that, there's nobody out there that's going to put you in the top 12 because they don't want to watch a bad football game in the playoffs. So as dumb as UMass sounds, this is out here. You've got to come out here and you got to blow the doors off of them, because at the end of the day, when they're picking the teams that get in and teams that get out, they're going to look at stupid games like this, Mike. So don't overlook them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, buddy, you got anything else before we hop off the line?
No. Again, thoughts and prayers to everybody down there in Florida, and of course, the victims up here, East Tennessee and North Carolina. Still, it's been a wild one, man, and I know few people that were affected, and I know there's still some out there fighting. So just know you got our thoughts and prayers, and if you got time to donate, or if you can drop some water off at one of these places, be sure to do that. Got a lot of heroes in this thread, a lot of volunteers. So appreciate everything they've done as well.
Yeah, well said, Shane. I think that's a perfect way to end this one. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I appreciate you, buddy, for hanging in there, dealing with me. But that's going to do it. We'll see you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols. I'm trying to find the flattest marathon.